Because
hello,
the
everybody.
news headlines were repressed. I don't know if you noticed.
Oh yeah, that we had to find out. It wasn't in regular news. We all found out. I mean, I found out about it on social media. I didn't, no one like CNN wasn't talking about it or anyone like that, because the big banks buy a lot of ad time on the corporate media, and that's how politicians like Liz Warren are allowed to stay in existence. Because
and don't you think, Graham, that an entire country taking on Bitcoin as a legal tender would be major front page news?
I would think it would be. But you see how sophisticated the misinformation campaign is.
Yes.
So El Salvador announces this, and they do it. It's a super majority. It was 62 out of 84 people. They only needed 43 votes, and they got 62. Right? So they won that 62 to 22. That was a super majority they got. And this is groundbreaking, revolutionary news. So the misinformation campaign works two ways. One, they just don't cover it. They act like it didn't happen. Two, then Liz Warren suddenly comes out to give this big speech. The Hills got it. It's tweeted all over the place. Like, the president of El Salvador came out to say, I mean, it was, he did it publicly. He said he was on this like Bitcoin forum, and he came in and started talking to people on it. And because I was watching the replay of it on this show, Altcoin Daily, they played it last night, and he said, this is how we're going to do this. And what he pointed out is that now it's required. That's the big, because right now, if you're running a business, and this is in El Salvador or America or anyway, and you want to accept Bitcoin, that's your choice, but you're not required to do it. You are required by law to accept US dollars, right? If you're in El Salvador prior to this bill, you are required by law to take El Salvadorian money, which I think they use the US dollar anyway. But like, now they are required by law. Every single business, car wash, McDonald's, selling car, wherever, man, used car salesmen, malls, they have to accept Bitcoin. And
that is like one of the biggest news is, I think, from in the crypto space. It's legitimizing. You can't say it's a scam if a country is using it as legal tender. You know, do you say the peso is a scam? Do you say the dong or the yen or scams? No.
Well, this is the thing why you see how sophisticated the propaganda is. That's why the crux of Liz Warren's lies were it's bad drug money. Well, that feeds into all the drug cartels in Central and South America. So now they're going to push this. El Salvador's some Bitcoin drug cartel country now. They're all corrupt, and good old white America, keep your money safe with the US dollar. Don't do that drug cartel, Latin money thing down there with Bitcoin. That's the vibe. It's part of the, it's part of just white colonialism.
It's so sad because I think the countries that are going to have more Bitcoin and crypto adoption, mainstream adoption, are actually countries with weaker currency, because they've seen the corruption. Turkey has seen it, Venezuela has seen it, and they know what can happen when you give the central banks too much power. They will inflate your currency into oblivion until you're in indentured servitude. And unfortunately, that's what Joe Biden and Trump are doing. Trump in the past and Joe Biden now, is that they are just printing and printing. They're devaluing and they're lying. The official government numbers say inflation is at 2%, I believe, even though they printed more money in the last 6 months than they've printed in the last 11 years, Graham. And I'm not an economist, but that sounds like a little something fishy is happening.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see gas in California is about $4.25 a gallon right now. So don't tell me there's no inflation. The costs of goods are all going up. But to get back to your point of the IMF has been, the IMF is basically
it's a mob organization.
It is a bank mob. I mean, they just like a mob guy would come to your business and say, oh, pay me for protection. And then when you don't, they burn your business down. The IMF leans on these countries all the time. We saw this when the IMF threatened Ecuador to withhold a $500 million loan unless they gave up Julian Assange, what they eventually did. I mean, this is how they do it. And I think El Salvador, I don't know that much about this president, but he seems like a younger guy. He seems like he wants to empower his citizens. And now they can't be.
They don't want that. They don't want empowered citizens. They want Africa poor. They want South America poor, because then you are dependent on the Western monetary system. You're dependent on the big banks. You're dependent on, they make massive amounts of interest off of the poor. In fact, they probably make more interest off the poor than the wealthy. When you look at these transaction fees that they're charging poor people, and like you said, the bank manager you spoke to, if you're poor, we're just gonna, you're a risk to us, and we're just gonna charge you into oblivion because we really don't care about you.
Yeah, and what this does is El Salvador passing this bill overwhelmingly, right?
Yes.
And it goes into effect in 90 days. So by September, El Salvador is, and what it's going to do, and one of the things he said, and is it's going to spurn innovation, because that's part of it too. When everybody's just barely working to get by, nobody's innovating anything. It's like America doesn't innovate anymore. We're not leading the world in any of the good categories. We lead the world in handgun deaths and people dying because they don't have health insurance. And we have the worst infant mortality rate, or the highest infant mortality rate of any industrialized nation. The only nations that are like worse than us in these bad categories are like developing or third world countries. I mean, and so El Salvador is going to become one of these countries that is going to lead the way. And as you've already stated, it's a matter of time. It's the dominoes. We're going to see Guatemala, Costa Rica. We're going to see all these countries just go. Venezuela is going to go, we're done, because we've been sanctioning the shit out of them because they have the #1 oil reserves in the world. All these countries are going to go.
We use our banking system to punish people that don't want to play our game. And our game is rich white people and rich, elitists basically putting their foot on everyone else's neck. And the scary thing, Graham, is when you talk about the mainstream media controlling the narrative, there was news stories all over the place when China banned Bitcoin earlier this month. But when El Salvador embraces Bitcoin, there's absolutely no news whatsoever. If you look at the crypto news websites on the internet compared to the mainstream news websites' coverage of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, the stories from the mainstream media are always fear, it's going to crash, you're going to lose all your money, it's a scam, money laundering. And when you look at cryptocurrency alternative news, what you see is, hey, this is going to lift people out of poverty. It's a decentralized system. It's transparent. It's going to help people be more in control of their finances, less fees. And it's just a completely different, narrative.
I think that the El Salvador thing really kind of proves a point that Max Kaiser said when he was on my show about a month or so ago. He said, you can't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you. And he says, it's just, these countries are going to try to fight it all they want. Like America's going to try to fight it. China's going to try to fight it. But eventually you can't stop this thing, because it was, whoever Satoshi was, person or persons, created this thing. It's genius. You can't shut it down. And so now that there's countries like El Salvador going, we're going to accept this. So here's what's going to happen too. This was already starting before the pandemic in terms of countries were doing digital nomad visas. This has been around for about 5-10 years, a lot of countries, because people are working more remotely. Well, that got ramped up during the pandemic. Barbados was like, come live here. Well, you can get a 12-month visa, just work remotely, because they realized there's no tourists coming, but remote workers actually infuse money into an economy. They don't take any local jobs. They just bring money into that economy. Well, this is going to, Bitcoin is, El Salvador adopting Bitcoin. Think about all these Bitcoin people like you, me, all the Bitcoin whales out there are going to go, well, maybe I should move to El Salvador because they're going to be friendly to me. They're going to take care of me. I'm not going to get hit with a bunch of taxes, and they're going to welcome my Bitcoin and welcome cryptocurrency. And you're going to see that country is going to become not just a tourist haven, but a tech haven, an innovation haven. It's going to be one of these like hubs. Like
I think the politicians really don't understand what's happening. It's like there's billions of people that have cell phones now. You could have your entire crypto wallet, in your pocket, Graham, on your phone. And even if I kill you, even if I murder you, I cannot break into that crypto wallet without your keys and your code. And so you're going to be able to go anywhere, and you don't have to be, stuck under a repressive country, or if, another Trump happens, you don't have to stay here and be subjected to that. You can move to a country that's friendlier, more peaceful, doesn't use their money for the military industrial complex. I know Costa Rica doesn't have a standing army, and there's other countries like that that aren't using they're, that have healthcare because they're not using 40% of the budget on the military.
It's insane. I mean, and for Liz Warren to say all that stuff, just like she's abandoning the fact that we outspend the next 10 countries combined on military. On a domestic level, you've got police departments like the LAPD, which gets 54% of the city of Los Angeles's operating budget. 54%. They get $3.1 billion. And yet, boy, what do we do with all these homeless people? We've got new fancy apartment complexes on every goddamn street corner in LA for $3,000 to $5,000 one bedrooms that no one can afford, but we can't seem to do anything about the tent cities. But, LAPD gets a new tank, a new rubber bullets, new armor, new robot dog.
They actually have military grade equipment now. So that's another scary thing, is the militarization of the police forces, is that this is not something that happened 20, 30 years ago. I mean, now they have military grade equipment to abuse protesters with. So it's kind of scary. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's like crazy.
Well, who wants to, because we're in a country we don't want to live in anymore. I mean, if I told you there's some country in Central America where militarized police, no health care, people die, they're living on the streets, everyone's got a gun, a bunch of people attack the Capitol building in January, there's handgun deaths every year, people die because only the rich have health care, you'd go, I don't want to live in that country. There's no way you'd want to go to that country. There's a mass shooting every day. The cops can kill you indiscriminately. You'd say, I don't want to visit. I don't even want to visit that country. Like, who would want to visit, let alone live in America with these conditions? And yet we think we're so much better than everybody. And it's like, you've got these out of touch, old, rich, white people like Liz Warren spewing this bullshit.
I actually do like Liz Warren, and I was the little speech she gave about crypto completely changed my mind about her. I did a lot of research actually before. I didn't even know you were going to talk about her tonight, but I did a lot of research, and that's when I found out that her crypto expert was bought by Wall Street. And I was very disappointed by that. I was excited as a woman and a feminist when she ran, that, a woman's running, and, to see actually the misinformation. I mean, I don't even think she spoke to one person in the crypto field, because that could have easily been debunked by talking to one person, actual expert in the crypto field.
Yeah. All she had to do is just find one crypto, go talk to Michael Saylor, go talk to Max Kaiser, someone who's worked in finance for decades, understands the financial markets better than we ever will, and truly understands Bitcoin and how revolutionary it's going to be. But she doesn't want to do that. And this is the thing, because America has such a long history of a white patriarchy and genocide and racism, it's easy for people to get tricked by, here's a woman, yay, woman running for Kamala Harris, woman of color. She's locked up 100,000 black men for smoking plants. I mean, exactly. She could have put Steve Mnuchin in jail and didn't. And he donated to her attorney general campaign and her senatorial campaign. And then she voted to approve him when she was in the Senate to be in Trump's cabinet. So this whole system is corrupt. So all this, diversity and representation is important, but they're just
replacing the old white men with women's suits on.
Yeah, exactly. It's now women and people of color can be as corrupt as old white guys. Isn't it? Hooray. Don't you wish you can be rich, Rosie? So now you can oppress the poor like a white guy can? Isn't that great? The
crazy thing is, I think last time I was on the podcast when we were talking about Elon Musk, you did a quick Google search on, is Bitcoin bad for the environment? And I think the first 3 or 4 Googles that came up were like legitimate sources debunking it. Yeah. And so it's like, I'm not sure if Elizabeth Warren even looked on Google, did she even check Google before just, I think that's actually extremely unethical. I'm making fun of it, but I think that's actually extremely unethical to not even do a quick Google search before you talk on a topic. You're a public figure. You're, listened to by millions. She has hundreds of thousands of followers, and millions of people follow her and trust her opinion. And the fact that she didn't even do a quick Google search and read 1 or 2 articles on the opposing viewpoint just shows. I mean, I was really disappointed by her speech. I really was. And I'm really excited about what El Salvador's doing, because the dominoes are falling, Graham. Multiple countries in South America are saying that they're going to follow along. They're open to it. And, that means that all those people are going to have to, all those businesses in that country are going to have to go towards Bitcoin adoption and crypto adoption. And all those people in the country are going to be interested in growing in that market space. So I just really want people to do their research. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to be pro Bitcoin, you have to be pro crypto, but at least do a basic Google search and say, hey, is this actually bad for the environment? And the answer is no. It's not as bad as they're making it seem to be. And two, again, the petrodollar, the military, look at all of these things that are polluting 20,000 times more than Bitcoin, and no one says anything.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at GrahamElwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.